Don't you want it? 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 You lose your little mind. 5, 10 lives.
Into the loop.
Ooh,
Into the loop we go. Welcome to the Deadlights podcast loop. I'm your host, Loopy Sam.
I am Loopy Leslie, bringing you your loopiness every week, everybody.
We're stuck in this thing once again.
Let's loop.
Let's run it again. Here we go. And in this loop, we watched The Endless from 2017, directed by Justin Benson and Aaron Moorhead, written by Justin Benson. As kids, they escaped a UFO death cult. Now, two adult brothers seek answers after an old videotape surfaces and brings them back to where they began. Back to the beginning of the loop.
It did take me a little bit, and I was like, oh.
Yeah, so I guess first thing that we should talk about this movie is, I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, I believe this is our first sequel movie that we have on the podcast, because to give everyone context, we did watch Resolution in the first season, which was also directed by Justin Benson and Aaron Moorhead. And though this isn't a direct sequel, it definitely takes place in the same world, and we do get some crossovers from some characters that we saw in the first one.
Crazy.
Yeah.
I was not expecting this to have like a little universe. And what a fun way to connect the two.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Wow. It kind of built upon the first one and expanded the universe, like you said, and gave us more context. And I thought it was a kind of a fun little crossover. I knew that coming to this movie that this was also in the same universe as the first one, but I didn't know how much they were going to dip into the first one. And they actually did dip in quite a bit.
What's your name?
Justin.
Let me stop you right there. Can I ask you a question? Cool. Do you have any drugs or crack at all on you?
No,
well, let's jump into
let's get into
this can.
The can. Cool how it's made. And it's going to be interesting kind of comparing this to the first one, because I think they got more of a budget in this one.
What? Why? Why do you say so?
Well, that first one was pretty low budget. I think you actually said in the episode that they had like a $20,000 budget.
Oh, yes.
Which is super small.
A little mini.
Very, very small. But then again, it was essentially two actors in one location. This, they were able to give the same vibe, which I do like, of having this kind of contained story in one location, but able to expand it a little bit. And we have more characters coming in here, and a community, and other,
an actual set, because they had to rent that campsite.
Yep. Yeah. Or build it, maybe. And definitely they had more special effects going on to add to this monster that we have running around.
And that costs money.
For sure. But it is nice to see that filmmakers that have made a movie that we've enjoyed in the past are then given a little bigger of a budget to then expand their ideas and be more creative.
Yeah. These people just keep surprising me. I don't know where it's going. I think it's quite fun. And maybe don't write, direct, and star in your own movies. Yeah. But this is, I'm in reference to this movie. I didn't like the acting.
Yes, and that definitely fits within the can category, so we got to talk about it. And as we lightly mentioned before, Justin Benson and Aaron Moorhead star as the two lead brothers in this film.
Yeah.
Which is an interesting choice. I was not a fan of that choice, because I think that typically when you're directing a film and starring in it, it's a lot to keep track of. It's tough to do. Not to say that it's impossible, but it is really hard when you want to give your full creativity to a job, that being directing or acting, but you have to split it, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm always very, cautious of filmmakers making that choice. And because I feel, unfortunately, one suffers in the end, in the endless. And they're not great actors, unfortunately.
I like their concept. I like what they're building, but yeah, I think, like you said, something suffers when you do dip in both, because there's a lot of the dialogue that wasn't. I didn't know what direction they were going through. But I don't know. Maybe that's just me, or I.
No, I agree, because I felt like
There was no emotion sometimes, or there was too much emotion. The camp director was good. I liked him.
he was probably the best one. Yeah.
Yeah.
He was. He was the most natural, and
But-
he also had something to hide in some way. So he he was more mysterious, and he played that like character of like, do we trust him or do we not trust him very well. I think he rode that line extremely well.
In fact, I can assure you that nothing here ends. All that happens here is that people live long and healthy lives.
And I also felt too that some of the writing was weak.
Yes.
I felt like the concepts that they were pushing was very cool, but some of it, the dialogue felt very on the nose of like, oh man, like sometimes I think about regrets, and don't you wish that you could like not be in a loop in life? This movie's about loops.
Am I right?
Am I right? Wink, wink. It was very on the nose, and then it was also expository too. It was like really over explaining. Maybe they felt like they had to do that because we're working with like higher concepts, but to me it was just a little poorly written.
History repeats itself regardless. The old skipping record plays on, doesn't it? I'm just grateful I get to live it all.
You know, it's funny. We never anticipate the ways we're going to isolate ourselves from the ones we care about.
You know, there's not much difference between being stuck in a loop and being stuck repeating the same shitty day over and over, like back home until I die.
It just didn't feel
understand.
natural.
Yeah.
The writing didn't feel natural.
Yeah, the writing didn't feel natural because also we didn't have any natural actors.
Yeah.
They were all just kind of saying things, and when the director is not guiding you, the direction of emotion just kind of gets lost, and so therefore some things that they say get lost, and you're just like, what the fuck was that? What was that?
You're drunk.
Oh,
You are drunk. You smell like a Long Island iced tea.
you're drunk. Look, man, I know you've been just dying to make something up and get me out of here, but I didn't see a monster or anything.
Why did we tell that story? Why did we go out and tell that
I
story?
knew there was something wrong here. And there is something very wrong here. And I did what I had to do to keep you safe.
You are a fucking cult leader!
I'm gonna have to ask you to leave.
Yeah, I mean, I think that unfortunately that was the biggest bugaboo of the film. And we got to talk about it straight off because it's part of the cam, so sorry.
Part of the can.
But we could talk about the meat, which I think that it is, there's a lot of meat going on.
There is a lot of meat going on.
Because we're dealing with a couple, okay, we're going into the meat.
Let's do it. Nom, 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 nom. Wow.
Because we're talking about, first of all, cults and this idea of either like the concept of free thinking versus this like cult mentality of always being told what to do. And how this movie presents it is actually great because we have these two brothers who come from a cult. They left it 10 years ago, and they're both in different places in their lives. One, Justin, played by Justin,
Written by Justin,
is this hard-headed, trying to make life in the quote-unquote real world work, doesn't want to revisit the cult, doesn't want to have anything to do with the past, just would rather leave it in the past. And then we have Aaron, who's played by Aaron, written by Justin. And he was clearly younger when they left, so his memories of the cult are a little different and maybe a little more veiled in like nostalgia. And he kind of wants to go back to get some closure, get some answers of what was actually going on there.
Why do you want to go back?
You can say goodbye. Just some closure. They were our family.
Aaron, the younger brother who's maybe looking for some sort of meaning, maybe gets pulled in a little bit because of this girl. Like that's part of the maybe manipulation or like attraction that it has. But in the end, I feel like it's just because he's unhappy with his real life outside.
But it has to be his way, which never works. And so the only thing that's worse than this shitty life he's built for is having no fucking control over it. I'm sorry.
And then we have Justin, who's the guy who's actively trying to get out. And we're seeing through him how difficult it can be to get out of a situation like this when you have someone like your brother who's attached to it, and sometimes you have to sacrifice yourself to save someone, even when you don't agree with what their choices are. And I like how those characters in the end do come together and realize that, okay, we don't need any of this extra stuff. We got each other. And that's okay. Again, extremely overwritten. And they said all this stuff verbatim that I'm telling you.
All I've ever wanted was just to be able to mess up with you. To be able to mess up our lives just as much as you do.
From here on out, we're equals. I hear you. You're my brother. And I love you. I love you too. And I need you to start this car because I don't want you to die or me to die, okay?
But I think that it's a nice way to tell that story.
Right.
In some way. Because it gives it weight. This idea of cults affects like real people every single day.
Also reality. It's just like they really twist and turn reality.
Yeah. And then throwing on top of this that these are people who are literally stuck in a time loop. So they are destined to forever do the same thing over and over and over again. It's a nice metaphoric horror element that they throw into it and sci-fi element that they put into it to tell this story and to convey the realities of this cult mentality.
Bunch of looping prisons, man. Like shitty pods of time. Repeating over and over and over again like rats, telling stories for that thing's amusement.
It's just horrible because also, like I mentioned, these people are vulnerable. So we have one that has been doing drugs, and she's just kind of always really out of it. And she just kind of accepted that to be her fate. It's a very, bleak way to view things that when you hit a certain age, because they talk about age quite consistently, it's like, oh, you're finally gotten to the age where you can see things.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just like, whoop, okay, waking up and going to work and then doing that over and over and over and over again.
Yeah, and it's nice because it then does extend out into the real world for these characters too, because they've been outside of this cult for 10 years, but in some ways they've been stuck in their own loop, of just the monotony of real life and the reality of how hard life is being reminded of that over and over and over again. Everyone's in their own loop.
Yeah.
And even at the end, when they do escape, they get out of the time warp. Let's do the time warp.
Okay.
No, we escaped it.
Yeah, no musicals here.
Yeah, they got out. But it does still kind of leave you with that, like, okay, they're still going back to that life. Yeah, it's pretty bleak. It's pretty bleak. Even we get like a happy ending for a second, and then you kind of remember, well, loops are loops, man. It's going to loop back around to here at some point.
And that is the concept for just, we got to heal.
We gotta heal.
We gotta heal, man.
We gotta heal, man, or else you're gonna be in those loops.
You're just gonna be in the endless loops.
Let's talk about it.
It really reminded me, some aspects of it, of Inception.
Mm-hmm.
Also Spring Breaker. Did you see that movie?
Spring Breakers?
Andy
Yeah.
Warhol.
Spring break.
Spring break.
Spring break.
But yes, it's like you have a choice to make. Are you going to continue in this loop, knowing that you're in a loop, or you're going to try to get out, or be resentful that you actually even got into the loop in the first place, and be like that guy in the fucking woods killing himself every now and then.
Yeah.
Where's my house? Why the fuck are you in my house?
Yeah, a little bit of this because of the cult aspect, and it's outside in the wilderness. It reminded me of Midsummer. With that kind of like, hey, we're going to use a coloration that's going to throw you off and be like, hey, this is nice. Look at us. We're running. We're
slow motion-y things.
Yeah, we're doing slow motion things.
Yeah.
And yeah, like
it was dreamlike, and it kind of was, it again was trying to draw you in with this like beauty.
I mean, it definitely did for me. I miss the desert and all the activities out there.
Just be careful with those time loops. Just don't get stuck in one.
Maligna.
All right, well, let's get to the cook.
Okay.
Let's get to the cook. They did not cook it well. Oh my god. Wow, I've officially killed Leslie. It's finally.
I'm so sorry to blow that out. I was not expecting that.
I'll put up a small warning with like warning for your ears. Blowout happening in 5, 4, 3, 2. They did not cook it well.
Oh my god.
And I say that because we got a lot of really cool concepts that we're talking about, but the cook really goes back to how they present it to us.
Yeah.
And how they presented to us was, like we already talked about, the script was pretty weak. It was pretty expository. Didn't really leave much room for interpretation.
Yeah,
like,
cover up, girl.
Yeah, it felt like that first movie, Resolution, like we had a lot to discuss and like figure out after the movie because it wasn't so heavy-handed.
Yeah.
In this movie, we got it. Like they told us everything that was going on.
So it's what? Yeah. Sorry.
Yes.
They should have David Lynch it. Write it all out with all the details. Take those details out,
right?
And then maybe just like leave a lot for us to really discover and like ponder through. And then maybe the concept could have come through a little bit better, and more clean.
Exactly, and it also does go back to maybe if it was better acted, we could have been sold on some of these concepts a little more, because that I think does play a big part in the cook as well.
Yeah.
Because unfortunately, because no one was natural, the story didn't feel like it was being naturally told to us.
When you have power over yourself, if you give up any amount of authority to something else.
I mean, I really do have to find. I mean, it's a good question.
Always has been, always will be.
And then, yeah, there's a lot to this movie that just like, ugh. It was that. It was just like, ugh.
There were some eye rolling moments. There really was. It was like, okay, like we get it. We get it. Yeah, I really felt like they had like the script and then they should have just really gone through it and just cut a lot of the dialogue out. Just like way less dialogue, way less explaining.
But they wanted to show us their acting chops. Okay, Sam?
They did. They absolutely did show us their acting chops. I think they did succeed on showing us their acting chops.
And it's been the ruin of many a poor boy. And Lord, I know.
You sound exactly like the mating possums outside our window.
My mother was a day.
All right. So,
this, you know.
Unfortunately.
I have not a lot to say because I don't know.
I think we said it all. I think they got it.
We said it all in the first 5 minutes.
Yeah. Let's get to the thrill.
Yeah, let's do it.
Let's get to the thrill. For a little bit, which I do like about this movie, we didn't really know what we were scared of. There's multiple things that we could have been afraid of. There was this idea of a UFO alien involvement.
Yeah.
There was a cult too that is very scary. And also the idea of just like, who can you trust? We don't really know. So there's a couple different points of tension that they're playing with in this movie. And I thought actually the mystery of what was out there kept me in it for sure.
Yeah.
The mystery of what was going on, I think that definitely really kept me going with the movie.
One movie that does a really good job on keeping you interested in what's out there is Nope. You don't see what's going on. You just get little glimpses. Yeah, absolutely. The mystery of it was by far the biggest aspect. And that one scene that we just brought up with that man, you know, in that loop. What was that, like 5 seconds?
Mm-hmm.
And oh God, I cannot imagine.
Nightmarish, for sure.
And you know, like, yes, that is fantasy, but just, you know, really understanding that our choices do impact us and others. So be wise and don't get into a loop.
Don't.
Try your best to seek help.
Mm-hmm. Do not get in that loop. Talk it out.
Talk it out.
Even with your siblings, despite that first quote. Yeah, and you know what? And how they were showing it, there's some creepy images. You know, the birds were flying around in circles, and there was also this element that they definitely brought in from Resolution.
The cassettes.
Yes, this idea of communicating through media, pictures, cassettes, videotapes, audio recordings. That's how this thing, whatever it is, actually communicates with them.
What is it? It's how it communicates with us. With images.
I'm Michael. So you guys are like in a church group.
Nice to meet you, Mike. We're prophets of the Camp Arcadia faith.
Our whole thing is just making sure that people know
That self-sacrifice for the one true God is the only way to begin the journey into the cosmos.
we're just devoted to.
When we talked about it in the resolution, it kind of felt like a weird metaphor for us as the viewer, you know? We're the ones who are in control of pressing play on these movies and starting those loops for these characters.
Uh-oh.
So this kind of media, how it communicates through media feels like a weird kind of fourth wall breaking, and it's like, it's you, it's us, it's the viewers, we're the bad guys.
Oh no.
All right, let's pull into the ride.
Yeah, let's do it.
Unfortunately, the ride that they were trying to pull out in this movie did not work because someone left the battery on.
That is true. They have to jump start the car.
Yeah. Which you had done before, I guess.
Yeah.
And it worked.
Nice.
That always was something I was like, does that actually work, or is that only something that I see in movies? But
No.
I'm happy to hear.
It works. It works with the older cars. I think before the 90s.
Okay.
So 80s, if you had one that still kind of ran a little bit. Yeah, you
just
jump start
gotta
it.
give it a little push. A little push.
You
start.
fucking Flintstones out of there.
Yeah. The holes in the bottom. It's fine.
Yeah, it's okay.
The ride.
Yep.
I think, like I said, the thing that was really just keeping us in here was the mystery of what was going on. And that kept me interested to figure out what was going to happen at the end for sure. And the concepts that they were playing with were definitely interesting to think about and interesting to talk about. And they were making a lot of really cool artistic ties with, the themes. They were doing that.
In the other movie.
Chris, it's Mike. Okay, your best friend. Don't shoot.
Holy shit, man. Fucking Mike.
It's pretty cool to like tie another movie that I had no idea had a sequel, prequel, whatever, to it. And it just makes me like the first one a lot better. Just because then if we really go back and play it knowing that it's a loop, ooh, that's tough. That's a tough loop.
Yeah.
Yikers.
Yikers.
Yeah, and then at the end they were just talking about what they would do once they like made it out of there.
Right.
And the guy just was like, "Yeah, I'm gonna go." And
well, and then even sadder, talking about how our own loops affect other people. Mike's wife, after he went missing in his time loop, then went to find him and look for him and got stuck in another loop.
My husband Mike disappeared near here. So I came out looking for him. I just sort of lost it.
Well, what's the first thing you're gonna do when you get out of here?
See my wife Jen and our baby.
No fault of her own, she then got wrapped up in her own loop and just she's stuck now too.
God.
And they got some kid out there that's being raised by the grandparents. Both parents are missing in their time loops.
I mean, because of those elements, the ride is, for me, it's okay.
Yeah.
It's okay.
Yeah.
And we're going to give them the Smash Pumpkins, and we're going to talk about what aspects.
Let's do it.
Let's do it. Let's
smash it up. Oh, yeah. Burp it out, smash it up.
Smash it up over here.
Yeah, let's do the Smash Pumpkins. Do you have a number?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think I've got a number too.
I'm gonna give it a 2.8.
2.8.
2.8.
Cool.
For reasons of acting, like the acting was not great. And the script should have been cleaned up a little bit better. But I liked the aspects of, there's little domes everywhere that you can just, get sucked into.
Mm-hmm.
And, just taking care of ourselves and other people.
Yeah.
I guess. If there is a message, I
think it's a strong message.
Yeah.
It is a strong message. And you're right. Like, Justin Benson definitely likes playing with that concept.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of the concepts that they were playing with in the first one carry over into this movie. And so I do enjoy that we can see his style and also Justin Benson and Aaron Moorhead's style as directors too coming through, because it felt like we were in the same world.
Yeah.
And I like that they expanded their universe in this movie, and I can respect them for that. And I think that this movie was okay. It was very in the middle, and I think that 2.8 is very fair. I'm going to go 2.6.
Nice.
Just a little bit above. Fine.
2.5. Yeah.
2.5 is like the middle where it's just like, you're just a little bit above that. Or a little bit above that. I will say, because we're talking about, this is our first sequel, maybe we should talk about which one do we like better so far.
Ooh.
Personally, Resolution.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
I agree. It just leaves a little bit more.
Yeah.
And I like the style that it got shot.
Yes.
This is just a little too clean in all the worst ways.
Yeah, unfortunately. I do have to make a confession to you.
No, shut up. No. Oh, man.
Here it comes.
No.
I'm wearing the exact same thing I wore for the Resolution episode. I just watched it and just like, well, I'm going to dress exactly the same. Unbeknownst, this movie was about time loops, so now I feel even more like I'm in a time loop. But
What? Confession time. No, I'm just kidding.
Oh.
I was going to say I wore the same underwear I did.
I've been taking that underwear off since that episode. Wow. Okay. Good. Great confession.
Well, I'm interested to see what I wore. What if it was the same thing?
It could be.
Mm-hmm.
That would be spooky.
Because I didn't know.
That would be spooky. And you didn't know.
I didn't know.
No.
Okay.
Time loops, you never know. All right, the Endless.
The Endless.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Let's see what we got coming at us next week, huh? There it is. Yeah, make it impossibly difficult for you to grab. All right. I don't know. I'm just gonna go like kind of somewhat in the middle.
There's a lot of movies
There's a lot
in
of
there.
movies. Got it. This is it.
I hope it sounds good, you know?
Me too. I hope it sounds terrible.
It could be ASMR.
It could be. All right. Here we go. A mysterious young woman seduces lonely men in the evening hours in Scotland. However, events lead her to begin a process of self-discovery.
Moana.
Is it Moana? Maybe. Scotland? Moana, Scotland. We are watching, Under the Skin from 2013.
Oh, I have done a lot of research currently because of a certain thing that's going on.
Trivia night.
Trivia.
We can talk about it.
I mean, we can,
Yeah.
but this is going to be the past.
We're doing another Alien movie. 2 Alien movies in a row. Well, I guess was this past movie, was The Endless an Alien movie? I don't really know.
Kind of.
Kind of? Yeah. It was an Alien? I don't know.
Something. It's something.
That's the one thing that they didn't flat out explain.
They didn't say it. They didn't say it, and we didn't see it. So it's left
You got
to...
me.
Yeah, you got me.
You got me. Cool. Under the Skin.
Under the
Awesome.
skin.
Under the Skin.
Under the skin.
All right.
Well,
we got a number.
We have a number.
We got a number. Please call it.
7.
7.
6.
No.
Nope. 5.
773
3.
669 6677.
77.
Leave us a voicemail.
Woo! I'll learn it.
Yeah, you'll get it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you can follow me on Instagram and Color Me Leslie.
And me at Beep Beep Richie T. And us at the Deadlights Pod.
Deadlights.
Also check out Playground Social, which is the studio that we were recording this at. The playground. I was going to say playground that we're at.
The blah.
But until next time,
Let's get spooky. Ooh.
It never ends. Loop.
It never ends.
It never ends. Loop. It never ends. Loop. It never ends.